Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming to our follow-up meeting about the Alberta Ballet proposal for growth. We had a great first meeting, and we had a couple questions about what happened in the future. The first question we had was about the risks and opportunities of the Alberta Ballet, of Alberta Ballet 2. So the idea was to expand Alberta Ballet to have its own touring production, and we'd call it Alberta Ballet 2. So, taking a closer look at the risks. There are some financial risks because in the proposed idea, we would have to raise about $90 million in order to make the move into a new single facility housing unit, to have everything with our box office, our concessions, our production stages, everything in one. That I'm not too worried about because we do have a great number of people who want to donate to our productions, so we shouldn't worry too much about that. We'd also have to create a new travel company who has not traveled before. But we would be hiring semi-professional dancers into the company, so they would want to prove themselves. So having this together would actually be pretty good. All right, our opportunities that we have as we're coming into this. We would reach a wider audience that wants to experience the arts. Through our research and through what the audience has told us, they want to see our productions, so we'd be able to reach them. Next up, we would have more students in the school, which would bring in more money for our company. We'd hire semi-professional dancers for the company, and we would create a new profitable company called Alberta. So taking a look closer at our risks and opportunities, I wanted to point out our most critical risk, and it would be loss of profits due to lack of interest. So consumers may enjoy the feeling of going into a city to see a show instead of driving through their community theater, and audience members may not want to see Alberta Ballet 2, they want to see Alberta Ballet. So with this, that would come into marketing, how we're going to present this. We can change it up. We'll talk about this in a little bit, though. And our biggest opportunity is to create a successful brand extension that helps Alberta Ballet grow. This would add to the number of professionals working at Alberta Ballet. It would increase our profits, and we would have more brand recognition amongst potential audience members. So another question that we had was, how can we keep on growing? How do we keep this going if Alberta Ballet 2 is not quite successful? Well, first, I like the idea of putting together behind-the-scenes videos that shows our performers getting ready for shows. This series can be shot from the perspective of a dancer. We can even have the dancers record themselves on their own phones and send it in. And the series can also help stories of some abstract performances so the audience has an idea of what they're about to see. The picture is, of course, from when we performed Frankenstein. Our audience might not understand how the ballet is going to perform a horror show, so this series would go into that a little bit more. I know that we were talking about another way to grow, and we want to talk about this in a way that makes it so that we have the biggest growth so our audience becomes bigger, right? So another way to grow, we would come up with the Alberta Ballet Festival of the Arts. This would be more cost effective because we would just be putting on a open performance, right? We might sponsor the venue, and then the festival would be held in other cities, and the local artists would come in. The local artists would be showcasing their talents, and they would have to pay to perform, and they'd have to pay for their own sets and other pieces. So we would make more money on that. The way the Alberta Ballet would come in on this one is we would provide 1 or 2 performers for a dance during the festival. This picture is, of course, during Alice in Wonderland with Alice and the Caterpillar. So if we just had 2 performers come in, that one set piece with that mushroom, it wouldn't be much for us to get them in there. So another question we had was, could the creation of Alberta Ballet 2 compromise the main company's reputation? So when a company is thinking about brand extensions, there's always a possibility of a compromised reputation for the main brand. But if we take a look at some of the companies who had their brand extension go in a very different direction, we can see that these were not as successful. Cosmopolitan yogurt. Cosmopolitan, the magazine, manufactured yogurt. That was not very successful for them. Colgate kitchen entrees. Colgate, the people who make your toothpaste, they made food. So you can see how that didn't quite work out either. Harley-Davidson cake decorating kits. This doesn't make much sense for Harley-Davidson to get into cake decorating. But when a company does a more gentle shift, it tends to support the company. So, if we look at something like Reese's Puff cereal, this makes sense. We like Reese's candies, so Reese's Puff cereals works together with that. Colgate toothbrush. Yes, the Colgate did go from toothpaste to toothbrushes, but of course people are going to stay with that company. It makes sense. Then Honda lawnmowers. We've got Honda, which is that car company or the motor company making lawnmowers. This also makes sense for them to work in. Could the creation of Alberta 2 compromise main company's reputation? It could, but the research suggests that this type of brand extension follows the natural extensions that consumers come to accept and expect. So if we stick with our idea of extending to Alberta Ballet 2 instead of going to something very different like a rock show, we would be fine with it. So what could Alberta Ballet do should Alberta Ballet 2 experience a decrease in demand? So we would want to take a look at the marketing of Alberta Ballet 2. When an audience member walks through the door, we want them to know they are going to experience the same caliber of dance they would experience at Alberta Ballet. So we can do this through local television ads, newspaper ads, and billboards. Now, what would the ads look like? The commercial could have dancers on them on our home stages. After their bows, they would hold hands, run out the door to a car or vehicle, and it would drive them to a new city. The words would come on the screen that say something along the lines of coming to your city on these dates. So, how much would these ads cost? Now, a typical commercial runs between $1,500 and $3,000. The billboards are about $800 a month. And our local newspaper ads are close to $2,000. So this would total between $4,300 and $5,800 per city. What is the benefit for this? We would increase the knowledge that the ballet is coming to town, which would create an excitement of what is to come, and we would increase our word-of-mouth advertising among audience members. Now, if we want to do something a little bit less expensive, we can think about adding coupons to our playbills. So when audience members come to see the Alberta Ballet performance, they'll receive 10% off of an Alberta Ballet 2 performance. And this could go the other way as well. So when audience members comes to see an Alberta Ballet 2 performance, they would get a coupon for Alberta Ballet. What are the costs and benefits? The cost is almost non-existent because the coupon is going to be printed right inside of the program for that night's performance. And the benefit is that the audience may be persuaded to see another show when the discount has been applied. Thank you all for coming to review the questions that you had. I hope you all have a great rest of your day.